Okay, my name is Tim DePiro. I'm representing Mr. Hyman, and I just want to say that normally I would make no comment on a criminal case and recommend to my client that he make no comment. This is a highly unusual case. I've never had a client get arrested for talking too loud or anything similar to that. The only time I've got in trouble myself in Catholic school back in the day with the nuns when I talked too loud, but I've never heard anybody get in trouble criminally for talking too loud. I think it's kind of a really bizarre arrest in this particular case. Mr. Hyman, I know from reputation as being a mild-mannered guy. He cleared security before he went into the building. He had no intention of doing anything but ask a tough question. And he was persistent in asking the question. He can explain that to you. And we just don't understand why he got arrested. It just seems kind of way over the top. D-I, capital P-I-E-R-O.
Thank you. Dan, sort of walk us through what happened this afternoon.
Well, basically, there were a number of people who were wanting to bring up the issue of pre-existing conditions under Trump care, and I've been covering, health care dating back to before the Affordable Care Act passed. So this is well-trodden ground for me, and so I was with them. And I had been working on something, a story about whether or not domestic violence is actually a pre-existing condition. Because in some cases before the Affordable Care Act, it was a pre-existing condition. A woman would get into a domestic violence situation and then end up being denied insurance, as strange as that sounds. So I wanted to ask Secretary Price about this. So we waited for them to come into the building. I waited for him to come into the building, and I was recording audio on my phone, and I reached it out to him past his staffers and the other people who were with him, and I asked him the question repeatedly, and he did not answer. He did not say whether domestic violence could be considered a pre-existing condition. And at some point, I think the Capitol Police got an indication. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure why, but at some point, I think they decided I was just too persistent in asking this question and trying to do my job, and so they arrested me.
How did the Capitol Police handle themselves about approaching and letting you know? They put hands on me, although they didn't hurt me, certainly. So I was pulled aside, and they cuffed me, and I asked them, am I under arrest? And they said yes. And I said, if I'm under arrest, how come I haven't had my Miranda rights read to me? And they said, well, we're not asking you any questions right now. And then later on, there was, usual kind of paperwork. I sat in their office, and they did paperwork, and then they came back and they said, okay, you have the right to remain silent. And I said, I want a lawyer. And that's really, they were sort of behaving like police, like average police. I don't think that, well, I'm not gonna comment on whether or not this law is fair to arrest someone for disrupting a public gathering, a public meeting, a government meeting in a public place. But given that, if we accept that, then I don't think the police, the Capitol Police, they certainly didn't mistreat me. Let's put it that way.
Do you think this is setting a bad example for the press if we want to ask someone questions and next thing you know we're getting arrested?
I think it's a terrible example. I think it's dreadful.
Explain why.
This is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. I am supposed to go and find out if somebody is going to be affected by this healthcare law. And, I think it's a question that deserves to be answered. And I think it's my job to ask questions, and I think it's my job to try and get answers.
I think as reporters, you probably understand that.
He was just doing his job.
I was just doing my job.
Was this in like the hallway of the main concourse, or was
Yes. Yes, this was in the hallway. There's the
Okay.
there's the public entrance, and then there's the West Wing entrance.
So you were there as he was coming in and he was asking
Yeah.
questions.
Yep.
Did you ask
In
him?
a public space.
Did you tell us a little bit like how many times you asked him? Did you shout at all, or what?
Well, I probably asked it. I asked it a number of times. But I asked it a number of times, and he didn't say anything. So I persisted.
Did any Secret Service or Capitol Police tell you that you were in an area you shouldn't have been, or anything like that?
No one who identified themselves as a peace officer of any kind, until I was arrested, told me that I should not be where I was. In other words, as far as I can tell, no. So the Public News Service is it's a nonprofit based in Colorado, and we are a news service in the sense that we put our stories out ourselves, but we also provide media outlets content, and then they pick it up or not as they see fit. And there'll be a story about this. You can find it. We're putting something together. The Public News Service is putting something together, and it will be on publicnewsservice.org. So
Allegedly broke, and it said it as long as you don't if you're interrupting governmental proceedings, provided that it's not a peaceable assembly. Do you feel like you were being peaceable, or?
oh, absolutely. I mean, unless poking a phone at someone is considered an act of violence. There was nothing. I mean, I was.
You're not poking
unarmed.
physically at it.
Yeah,
You're just near
yeah.
it.
I was just holding it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean that. Yeah, I'll let my lawyer answer all the important questions. But basically, what I did was I was holding the phone out like this, and I was trying to get as close to Secretary Price for obvious reasons. And that was all there was to it, and I was yelling out questions, and that was it.
Who else was around at the time this happened? Is there anybody else from media or anything? Or?
There were some protesters who were down the hall. There were a bunch of what looked like staff for Secretary Price. And I think that was about it. I think there may have been someone who tweeted out a picture of the arrest. I'm not sure. Jake Lance may have sent out a picture. But I think I was the only reporter that I know of there.
If anyone were to criticize you and say that you were in the wrong, how would you respond to that?
Well, I was doing my job. I mean, we want these questions answered. We, as a society, want. I mean, in abstract, if you ask someone, they say they like reporters to be investigative, to dig, to be, aggressive in pursuing the truth. And if they don't like the stories I write, that's fine. They can criticize me all they want. If they want to question my motives, that's fine. If they find fault with something that I've written, that's fine too. But just saying that I shouldn't be able to do my job is a bit ridiculous.
Okay, Joe.
All right.
Grab that
Thanks.
microphone from there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for waiting for us.